It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, I am back in studio. Cross our fingers that the power stays on. And no, we're not having power problems anymore. But last week, let me tell you, that was a extremely frustrating thing. So we had gotten a notice that we were going to have a power outage because we had a high wind warning. So the winds were coming. They were going to shut off the power just to be safe and all that good stuff. And the power actually went out before the planned power outage because of a downed tree. And so they got the power back on by like 11 or something like that. And then the planned power outage happened. Like, so it turned back on for an hour and then it went back off. And I was like, oh man. So I had a generator already at my shop. So I went and grabbed my generator, but it was only powerful enough to run my 2 refrigerators. So I let it run our refrigerators because they'd been down for a couple hours. And then I went and picked up another generator because I was going to run the stream off of my generator, hoping, hey, thanks so much for becoming a channel member there, Michael Black. That's awesome, bud. So I was hoping that the internet still had power, via like backup power or something like that at their whatever control station node or whatever. But no, after all that, I got a new generator, plugged it in, got my whole studio running, got my computer running. I was running off of my UPS, everything. And no, we could not get the internet up because they had no power at the, I think it's called the node or whatever. So it was just a pain in the butt. A lot of people reached out to me too, that because we have a lot of computer people and communications people that watch these videos, and they were kind of educating me on the whole, the backup power at the node and all that stuff. So, but it was just extremely stressful. I was really bummed out because I was trying so hard to get the stream going. And then it's funny because I went to Home Depot, I picked up a new generator, just a little 2200 watt, little portable guy, little Honda, nice little guy too. It's rather quiet. But picked that up, and then I got it home, and then I opened up the box, and I realized they didn't give you oil with the generator, which is just extremely frustrating. So it's like, for real? So I had to go back, get oil, come back, start it up. It was just like a back and forth. But I tried. I can honestly say, Connor, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. That's awesome. So I can honestly say that I tried my best. And then after that, and I do have to say, whoever wrote the comment, I can't remember who, but my wife absolutely loved the comment in the post that I did on YouTube or whatever. She said, or the post said something along the lines of, your wife just cut the cable or something like that because she wanted to spend a night with you or something. And my wife thought that was hilarious. So I got to give whoever that was props. So hello to everybody that is in here. I really, really appreciate you guys all. This is awesome. We have a great turnout right now. This is really, really cool. All kinds of people in here. This is great. So do me a favor. If you guys have questions or things that you want me to talk about, please put them in caps lock. Okay. We got a lot of my moderators in here right now. Stay on your toes as far as the people, keep it down or the moderators are going to kick your asses out of here. Okay. No, I'm just messing with you guys. We usually have a really good crowd in here. So, but yeah, throw any questions or comments or anything you want me to cover in caps lock. That way it's easier for me to see. Understand if I don't get to everything, guys, feel free to send me an email, okay? hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I've been getting swamped with emails and comments and everything, but I'm really trying to get back to them and stuff. So feel free to send me an email if I don't get to it. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Since I didn't do a stream last week, we have a bunch of videos to talk about. And then I got a bunch of topics as usual. And, well, that was really quick. It's like someone really got... Oh, okay, I see where we're going there. So, all right. Wow, yeah, been a crazy week. So the weather's changing here in Southern California. We've had cooler evenings, basically, okay? So for the last week, our temperatures have been around 65 to 75 degrees. This week, it spiked up again, and we're supposed to get into the 90s towards the end of the week, and then we're supposed to get another cool down. And this is kind of how our winters start out, or our fall. It's usually up and down and up and down. And then, November-ish is when it'll drop back down. Quinn, thank you very much for becoming a channel supporter. That is awesome. That is really cool. I got to give credit to all you guys that are supporting the videos and the channel and all that stuff, okay? The support comes in many ways, simply by leaving a comment, giving some feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever that may be. That's awesome. It really does help the channel. Some people have chosen to monetarily support, becoming a YouTube channel member, becoming a Patreon patron, doing super chats on YouTube. You guys are awesome. I don't do a good, I keep saying this, but it's just a task that I have not figured out how to handle, but I don't do a good enough job recognizing all you guys. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so very much for everybody that has done that, okay? And you don't have to monetarily support. I'm saying just simply leaving comments and feedback. It helps me to get recognized by the algorithm, helps the channel to grow. Lance, thank you so very much. I really, really appreciate that super chat, bud. Let me see. So, oh, cool. Right on. Very cool. Thank you very much, man. Another way, I will go ahead and cover this now. Another way to support the channel if you guys are interested is by buying merch from my website, hvacrvideos.com. I'm going to give a little shameless plug here real quick. Okay, Sal, thank you so very much for becoming a channel supporter. So I have a new shirt design coming out. We got a lot of new stuff coming out on the website, okay? It's all been ordered. The beanies are going to be the first thing that come in stock. They're going to be in stock in about a week or so. This is the official beanie right here. There's two styles. There's cuffed and non-cuffed, okay? I'm more of a non-cuffed person. That's why I ordered that style, but I got to be honest with you, this one actually fits really well too. These are typically a larger beanie, okay? I have a big head, so I wanted something that would fit my head. So it's typically, I shouldn't say it's like giant, but I mean, it fits my big head really well. Like it a lot. So those will be available. I should be receiving these in about a week or so. And then we just got to get pictures and get them thrown up on the website. That shouldn't take too long. I'm wearing the new shirt design right now. It's still got the similar logo. This is the women's design, but it's the same logo on the back. Okay. My favorite part about this shirt is the flag on the shoulder. I've always wanted to do a flag on a shirt. Really dig that. And I was actually really surprised too. Adam, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. You didn't need to do that. I was really surprised that there's actually 13 stripes and 50 stars on this thing. I was actually blown away. I didn't expect that to happen. So that was really cool. Connor, no UK shipping yet. I haven't figured that one out. There's going to be not new hats. So I'm going to have a restock on the original shirts and then also a restock on the hats. So it's insane. And sweatshirts are coming out too. Zip up hoodies. Those are going to be coming too. So okay, we're done with that. Let's get on to the stream like we should. Stop babbling about that. Thank you guys so very much. Brendan Smith, how did I learn to work on all these types of units, like the hoods, the exhaust fans, doing HVAC school? You didn't learn about that. How hard is troubleshooting and etc.? Okay, so HVAC school certainly does not teach you everything, okay? HVAC school is going to give you the fundamentals, just a base to build upon, okay? There's all different aspects to this industry, and you can go in all kinds of different directions. Certainly, there are several things that I have no idea how to work on, okay? So it's endless what you can, you can just keep going in all different directions. All the stuff that I work on, okay, first off, I started working for my father when I was a young kid, okay? I grew up working for my dad. Summers, all that stuff. So I learned a lot from him. I had like a base from him. Then out of high school, I went to trade school, Mount San Antonio Community College in Walnut, California. Actually never finished Mount Sac. It's a 2-year, trade school with a community college or whatever. I have 2 classes that I need to go back. And it's funny because I recently ran into one of my old professors and he wanted to smack me in the head saying, dude, go finish. It helps the college out by finishing your program. So I have to take a welding class and I have to take a technical math class for air conditioning. Those are the only 2 things. Then I could get like a certificate or something like that, but I never finished it. But school gives you a base, okay? Once you have the electrical fundamentals, okay? Once you have the plumbing fundamentals and once you have the refrigeration fundamentals, you just build upon that when it comes into everything, okay? So the electrical fundamentals, once you know how to use a VOM meter, a voltage meter, okay? Once you know how to test current, once you know about resistance and all that different stuff, it just kind of gradually grows into everything. I mean, once you have a basic electrical knowledge, you can really go in all different directions, okay? So it just takes time. Now, I've always worked in restaurants, and in restaurants, we deal with exhaust fans, refrigerators, air conditioners, ice machines, and, walk-in coolers and stuff. So it's just something I get used to. Now, if you threw me on a fryer, which I don't work on fryers, like deep fryers, I wouldn't know what to do. I'm sure with my electrical fundamentals that I have, I could probably figure it out. And I know about combustion and I know, I can figure out that stuff. So I can probably figure it out, but I'm not going to be as fast as someone else that works on them every day. Okay. So it's just something, once you have the base, you can build upon it. All right. Let's see what else we got in here. Have I had any AC unit that downsized breakers go from 30 to 20 amps or 60 to 40 amps? Okay. So have I had any AC units that downsize breakers. I don't know what you mean by that, John. So are you saying like I've installed AC units that needed to put smaller breakers on them? Yes, but you can simply do that by, you typically aren't changing the wire from the main feed coming up, so you can really just fuse it down instead of putting a smaller breaker on it, unless you don't want to use fuses or something, if that's what you mean, hopefully. What's my opinion on CO2 refrigeration? Michael, I have no opinion. I've never worked on it. It certainly is very popular. The efficiency it seems to be there. I'm not super smart with it, but I understand basic principles. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like anything too crazy. I mean, I shouldn't say too crazy. There's definitely some technical side to it. So, Steam Droid, howdy from the state of Missouri. Steam, fun fact, I was actually born in Rolla, Missouri. I moved to California when I was 3.5 years old. So I still have family in Missouri. All right, let's see what else we got going in here. When are the heated beanies? Yeah, no heated beanies coming. All right, let's see what else. When's the banana hammock coming out? Yeah, that's funny, bud. All right. See what else. All right, cool. So my recent videos, I'm going to cover these real quick since the last live stream. So we had Hurry, the walk-in cooler's too warm. That was on 10/22. The dining room AC is not working. That was an interesting one. Okay. Can the beer walk-in be too cold? That was another interesting one. And my wife and I actually, if you guys haven't caught it, go check it out. My wife and I did another continuation of our HVACR Life series. I think it was the 5th video we've done. We slowly do these. There's no schedule on them. I feel that the HVACR Life series is a pretty cool one because even if I get 5 comments that say they appreciate the videos, they're worth it for me, okay? The views definitely aren't there. People don't watch those ones, which it's okay. They're not a technical video. But I think it's important for people to realize that we all go through struggles. And my struggles are no better or worse than everybody else's. I mean, you know, everybody goes through stuff. So that's why we released that series, was just to kind of humanize myself and to kind of let everybody know that, you know, we all go through this stuff, okay? So this HVAC trade is a definitely a hard one, and you know, I find it important to kind of let everybody know that, you know, this is what we go through. So, all right, let me see. What is the difference between supermarket, grocery store refrigeration, and restaurant refrigeration? Rion, so supermarket refrigeration is going to be much bigger. The concepts are still the same. There's going to be some extra control and efficiency valves installed in the system, but the basic principles of refrigeration are still there. They're the same as with your refrigerator at your house to the giant industrial refrigerator at the grocery store, okay? You just have bigger motors, bigger controls, more efficiency controls. In the grocery store refrigeration, again, I do not have not ever worked on grocery store refrigeration, but I understand the concepts, okay? So in grocery store refrigeration, the grocery stores are trying to be as energy efficient as possible. They're trying to save as much money as possible because the margins in the grocery stores are not as high as far as their profits. So they really, really have to pinch pennies. So they try to do everything they can. Plus, on top of that, they have giant amounts of food that they can't just, like in a restaurant, you know, if they lose a refrigerator over the night and they come in the morning and it's 70 degrees, and, you know, it's got, you know, one little rolling cart worth of food, no big deal. They just throw it away. They comp it. It, you know, cost them $200 or something like that. But you're talking 20, 30, 40, 50, heck, I don't even know, probably more than that, thousands of dollars, you know, in a grocery store refrigeration lineup, okay? So, or in their walk-in cooler or something like that. So, you know, there's so much food that they can't afford to lose all that stuff, okay? So they add efficiency controls and all kinds of different things like that to try to save as much energy and be as most efficient as possible. So the big differences are just the efficiency controls, the monitoring systems, and stuff like that. How often do I come across a package unit with excessive shaking? That happens rather often, actually. Was working on one today, putting some air cleaners, some of those bipolar ionizer air cleaner things on a customer of mine. And they had an air conditioner that was, just kind of shaking a little bit too much. Not enough to where it was damaging anything yet, but it was like, hey, I have to bring this up to the customer and let them know, so that way we can get on it before it becomes a big deal. Low voltage shorts. What's a good method for finding and fixing the issues? Mr. Green PM. That's a really interesting one. Low voltage shorts can be kind of tricky. So when it comes to using a meter, if you're going to be toning out the circuit, okay, testing to ground, that kind of stuff, your best bet is to disconnect the commons, okay? Because oftentimes on low voltage, the common is connected to ground, okay, on the 24-volt transformer. So if you're trying to ohm stuff out, that connection to ground can kind of throw you off. So if you can find the connections to ground, if you're lucky enough, it's right at the transformer, you just pull that off with the circuit de-energized, then you can go along and you can start toning the system out, checking for continuity to ground. But, you know, that only goes so far because there can also be tons of ground connections. Oftentimes on limit switches, they'll be grounded and different things like that. So it can get rather confusing. So understanding the sequence of operation is one of the biggest things. Okay. You know, if you're lucky enough like me that gets to work on a lot of the same equipment often, then, you know, you kind of get used to, hey, there's a low voltage short on a carrier package unit. It's over the economizer wiring going to the blower assembly. Like, you know, get in there. Oh yeah, there it is. You know, you get lucky with that. But if you're having to look that stuff out, I would highly suggest that you get one of those little fuse poppers. I don't even have one, but I think it'd be a really smart thing. Okay. They have a little, you replace a fuse with 2 little clips and it's got a little resettable, circuit breaker essentially on it. You obviously want to make sure that it's sized correctly for the circuit that you're working on. And you can kind of go along and replace the actual, you know, so then that way thing trips instead of the fuse or something like that. You know, but just understanding the sequence of operation, that's the most important thing, okay? Because that's going to help you out. And then obviously too, there's all different methods. I've shown it many times in videos. Sometimes, you know, you can't find the short. It's a really tricky one. So what you do is you disconnect everything, the entire, you know, low voltage circuit, and you connect things one at a time. You know, that's last resort because sometimes you just can't find the short. So you connect things one at a time. Okay. Boom. Indoor blower contactor pulls in, blower motor starts. Okay, we're good. You know, disconnect that and start connecting things one at a time. But again, that is last resort. Try to tone out everything and look for the shorts first. Looking for, you know, just understanding what manufacturers have certain problems, like Linux package units. They typically don't have electrical shorts when they're running through chases or anything like that. They do a good job of protecting their wiring. So I'm usually not going to pay a whole bunch of attention to where the wires run through metal panels and things like that on Linux package units. So it's really about what you're familiar with and knowing where to go with it. So I kind of answered that a little bit. Hopefully that helps a bit. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Let's see what else we got. All right, that's pretty much it. What makes an air conditioning fan shake when it kicks on? More than likely, there's something out of balance if the air conditioning fan is shaking, okay? I don't know if it's the indoor blower motor, if it's the outdoor fan motor. Either way, there's something out of balance. It could be out of balance simply because it's dirty. It could be full of dirt and lint. It could be all kinds of things like that. So you really need to look into why it's out of balance because obviously something is stopping or is causing the system to shake like that. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get to my list. So, oh, really good question. I'm going to go ahead and answer this. J&J Racing had asked me about coil cleaner. And this is a really good question because I do get this quite often. So when I'm cleaning package units, when I'm using condenser coil cleaner, do I ever worry about the condenser coil cleaner eating holes through the roof? Okay, and that's a really good point because some cleaners, Twisted Candle Company, thank you so very much for that super chat. That is awesome. I really, really appreciate it. So when I'm cleaning condensers, yes, I do worry about cleaners sitting on the roof for long periods of time, okay? Now, I tend to use the refrigeration technologies cleaners as much as possible, the Viper Venom packs and all that stuff, right? And their cleaners are a lot less concentrated, okay, if you mix them correctly. If you're using the Venom packs, if you use their dilution ratios, you really don't have to worry too much about things getting left on the roof, okay? Brad, thank you so very much for that super chat. That is awesome, man. I believe it's Bowman. I'm hoping Bauman or Bowman. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name there, bud, but thank you so very much. That is awesome. Much appreciated, guys. So with the coil cleaners, yeah, you got to be careful, especially with the old acid-based cleaners. We used to have what's the pink stuff that we used to use that was just like acid? That stuff would eat anything away. Yeah, you don't want to let that stuff puddle up on the roof. So even when I'm using the refrigeration technologies cleaner, I'm still very careful. And what I try to do is when I'm done cleaning, I try to rinse everything down the roof as much as possible. So that way we make sure that nothing is sitting in any spots, okay? Now, I get a question so many times too. Why do we drain our condensate drain lines into the sewer, okay? Because in California, we are very close to the ocean and everything goes to the ocean one way or another, okay? So they want to be able to treat everything, right? They want to make sure that it goes into the proper drainage areas. You know, in some areas, most of the time, even the drainage outside the water runoff and stuff like that is going to go to some sort of a treatment plant. But they want everything to go down into the sewer, so that way they know for sure it's going to the treatment plants. We have all kinds of different laws and different things like that about certain chemicals, putting chemicals down the drains and different things like that. You can go in some areas too in California where they actually will require, I don't work in any of these areas, but they'll actually require you to basically get rid of all the runoff from cleaning the air conditioning units. You can't let it go down the drain. If you go to some of the cities, it's crazy what they make you do. So especially the closer you get to the coast, the more controlling they are of that kind of stuff. So. All right, let me see what else we got in here. Already covered that. All right, let me go into the chat right now and see what we have. Why do I replace the dryer after I'm working on a refrigeration system? Damon, it is just good practices whenever you are working on any refrigeration system that you change the liquid line filter dryer, okay? The liquid line filter dryer does a couple different things. It protects the components in the system from carbon flakes and different things like that, any kind of contaminants, hopefully from burrs from copper lines and different things like that. If you guys watch one of my recent videos, you know what I'm talking about with that. You know, it protects the TXV. That's the main thing, okay? It's protecting the expansion valve from anything getting to it. Now, the other thing that a liquid line filter dryer does is it dries the system out. They typically have some sort of desiccant core in them, and they pull moisture out of the system, okay? Because in our situations, the refrigerant that we use in our systems does not mix well with moisture. There's moisture in air, so we evacuate the system, pull all the air out of it. After we've changed the filter dryer, then we charge the system up. But the filter dryer will actually catch anything that we couldn't evacuate out of it. But that doesn't mean that you can just not vacuum a system and count on the filter dryer. Okay, it's there to catch things as, you know, it gets through the system. You still need to pull proper evacuations. Do your best to get it below 500 microns, passing proper decay tests, you know, lower for refrigeration, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, they're just there to protect the system. Do I know how you can fix a stove electric board? No, Scotty, I'm sorry, I don't. I'm not smart enough to work on that. Let's see. Right on. The Hvacr coil cleaner does a good job, Hamilton Mechanical. The cool thing about the Hvacr coil cleaner is you have control of the concentration. So you follow their guidelines, and it's not going to be super concentrated, but it does a good job of cleaning the coils. You can choose to go a little bit higher in the concentration. Sometimes I do it. You know, in one of my recent videos where I had a plugged up evaporator coil, I had to spray it on damn near non-diluted to try to break that stuff down. But you have to be careful because it can start to deteriorate things too. So be very cautious, all right? Especially when you're using the blue cleaner. Let me see what else. Balance port TXVs versus conventional TXVs. I still haven't really researched that to come up with an educated answer to be able to answer that, bud. Sorry. Are the fires still burning over there, and does that affect the units at all? So, Kevin, yeah, we still have fires in California. Last night, we had a fire right close to my house. Right now, it's unseasonably dry, more so than ever. And any kind of, someone throwing a cigarette butt out the window, sparks from cars, different things like that, they ignite fires, okay? So we don't have any giant ones per se. Last week, we were mopping up some really big ones. Last night, there was a small one near my house, but nothing to be concerned about. But for the most part, they've done a pretty good job of getting a handle on them, and we were very fortunate. I mean, we had some bad fires, but we were very fortunate they didn't get worse. Cross our fingers, everything still goes okay. Oh my goodness, Peter, thank you so very much. Wow, you guys, these super chats are amazing. Again, these are not needed, but they are so appreciated. Thank you guys. Peter, that is awesome. Holy moly, bud. All right. How about Stay Bright 8? Okay, I get that a lot. People saying that I should use Stay Bright 8 when I'm changing expansion valves and different things like that. Guys, I am just a stubborn mechanic. I've never used Stay Bright 8. I fixed a lot of Stay Bright 8. I shouldn't even say Stay Bright 8. I've fixed a lot of low temp solder joints. I don't know if it was actually Stay Bright 8. I don't know if there is another low temp solder, but I fixed a lot of them. Okay, so I prefer to use two different types of solder, and that's it. I use 15% Silphos, okay, for copper to copper connections, and I use 56% silver solder. Call me old school, but that's what I use when I braze. Okay, that's it. And then obviously plumbing, tin solder crap for water lines and stuff. So The 98 DeVille, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. That is awesome, bud. Why don't supply shops sell Hvacr products? Mr. Green PM, that is a great question. Okay, so two of the products that I like to use a lot. I love using Hvacr products, okay? Shameless plug because they are a sponsor of my videos. But I also like to use Solder Weld. Solder Weld has no affiliation with me. They're not a sponsor. I just like using their products. I probably don't give them a lot of press or anything, but I mean, if people ask me what kind of solder I use, I typically say Solder Weld. Both of those guys are small companies that are working their way up. Okay, Refrigeration Technologies, they are in more and more supply houses every day. And guess what? When you go to these big giant supply houses, okay, you've got the big giant mega corporations that go all across the world. You have all these different ones. It's just like the government, okay? It's all about deals that people do, okay? Just like in the government, you have lobbyists. With the supply houses and these manufacturers, you have manufacturers reps. And all that they do is consolidate all the products that they rep, right? They charge certain prices, and then they go out to the supply houses and they try to push those products on their friends, okay? But they get premium money to push those products, right? I'm not knocking supply house or, reps, but I mean, it is what it is. That's what they do, okay? So, Refrigeration Technology, Solder Weld, they have reps too, okay? But it's hard to go up against the big guys because the big guys, the giant conglomerate corporations, they have buying power, okay? And they can really go into these supply houses and say, hey, guess what? If you buy our product, we'll knock the price all the way down, because to them, just to get their name out there, right? They're even willing to sell something at cost just to get their name out there. But you have the smaller companies that have great products, and it's hard for them to go up against the big guys. It's also dangerous for them to go up against the big guys because they can crush the little guys, the big guys. The big guys can basically turn around and say, you know what? We're going to make you go out of business by pricing ourselves so low that you can't compete, and it just gets kind of silly what they do there. So we, as influencers on the internet, right? I think that term's kind of weird, but I guess I am one of those now. I have the ability to go out there and talk and say, hey, you know what? I really like a product, right? I really like to use this product, and I get it out to you guys, and then you guys get to use it. Now, I've been lucky enough. I do things ass backwards. I don't really treat this as a business like I should, okay? So I promoted Refrigeration Technologies products for 2 years before they even became a sponsor. I promoted Fieldpiece products before I ever worked with them. Same thing with all these different manufacturers. I like talking about what I truly like to work with, okay? And then it's like a bonus if I get them to work with me. But if not, I'm still going to be honest with you guys and tell you what I like and tell you what I don't. Now, I will say that I'm not a person that likes to talk negative about people. So if I don't have something nice to say for the most part, I'm not really going to say anything. That's kind of why I'm not a review person, like why I don't review tools or anything like that, is because I don't mind telling you guys about stuff that I like, but I really don't want to go out there and just start making videos about like, this tool sucks. Like, I just not my style. Nothing against people that do it, just not my style, okay? Now, I'm not saying I'll never do tool reviews or anything like that. I mean, I've even had a YouTube tool channel, but I just only have one video on there, but and I'm not saying that I'll like I put a video up talking about work pants, and I did say, like, you know what? I don't care for this pair. I don't mind doing that, right? But I just don't want to become a review person. So I kind of went off on a tangent there. Hopefully I answered your question there, Mr. Green PM. Let me see what else. Let me see what I'm missing. Have I ever tried to fix leaks on microchannels? Young Mafia, I have never had the opportunity to fix any microchannel leaks. I actually have the solder weld aluminum repair kit and all that stuff in my van ready to go for one day, but it's been sitting there for 1.5 years, and I've yet to have to fix a leak on a microchannel. But to be honest with you, I mean, more than likely, a leak on a microchannel is just going to be a temporary repair anyways. So, but no, I have not had an opportunity to try to fix it. So, don't hurt the little guys. All right, let's see what else. What am I missing in here? Have I ever tried? I already answered that one. All right. Oh yeah. Laska HVAC. Yeah, I'm not negative until I see a York unit. Okay, so that's a good point, right? I do try to make it fair when I bash someone, right? I shouldn't say bash, but when someone does something stupid, I'm going to say it because I have learned that engineers need to hear it. For instance, very good example, okay? Captive Air. Captive Air exhaust fans did something on one of their exhaust fans, and I like their exhaust fans, but they did something that was really stupid, and I made a video on it sharing my frustration with it. But you want to know what? Captive Air contacted me and said, thank you for sharing that information. We appreciate it. And then I ran into some people at Captive Air, and they also shared their opinions that agreed with me. And, you know, some manufacturers need to hear this stuff from us because I do have a voice. And when I run into this silly stuff, I need to let them know. Now, I'm not going to go on bashing them over and over and over and over again. That's not my style, but I am going to make it known. Same thing recently with Greenheck exhaust fans. Greenheck exhaust fans, I have to give them props. One of their managers contacted me, the guy that's in charge of the particular product line that I was bitching about. And they're the first manufacturer to ever contact me in the way that they did and make a public apology on my comment section. Like, good for them. Greenheck got props in my book for contacting me. And then I pinned their comment on there because it was such a good comment so that every one of you guys that sees it gets to go in there and you know, see how cool they were. Okay. Greenheck they're on the top of my list. I wish I could sell more of their fans. JD, thank you very much for becoming a channel supporter, bud. That's really awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I don't get into politics. If anybody's talking politics, let's turn it off. The only thing I will say is tomorrow is election day. Get out there and vote. I'm not giving you opinions or anything like that. Just get out there and vote if you choose to do so and make your voice heard. Either way, okay? But we don't get into politics on this channel other than that, okay? Everybody needs to, you know, keep that out of here. All right, let me see. Yeah, guys, don't make it, you know, ridiculous. I'm just going to remove comments there. All right, cool. Tecumseh compressors inside Lennox package units in my area. I have not seen any Tecumseh compressors in new Lennox package units. I have seen Tecumseh compressors. They used to use their reciprocating compressors in older package units all the time. And actually, even in some of the really, really older package units, they had the Tecumseh scroll compressors from many, many moons ago, the epic failure of that. Tecumseh has since redesigned their scroll compressor. I've yet to see one of the new designed ones. Supposedly they work good, but their previous scroll compressor was an epic failure. Like in the 80s and 90s, they had a scroll, and that didn't turn out too well. All right, let me see what else we got going on here. Have I ever worked on smart defrosts that are wired in series with defrost clocks? Jason Manning, that is in no way, no, I've never seen that. And I've heard of people leaving defrost clocks in the system when you're doing like an Heatcraft Intelligent or something like that, but you're not supposed to. Get the defrost clock out of there. If you have smart defrost systems, they typically don't have defrost clocks built into them, like standard mechanical defrost clocks. I'm assuming you're talking about like a fully integrated smart evaporator is what I'm talking about. So, all right. I'm going to get to my list of things here. So, Sean is a commercial plumber, and he wants to get into the HVACR field, and he wants to know where to start. Sean, you have a leg up, okay, because Sean already was talking about hydronics and heating and stuff like that. So he has a leg up because he probably understands the flow of fluid and different things like that, right? Shit rolls downhill, you know, that kind of stuff. But what you want to do, Sean, is reach out to a local HVAC company. I believe he was in the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, if I remember right. So reach out to a local HVAC company and let them know that you're interested in it, okay? Then what I would suggest you do is look for a local community college or trade school. Pay attention when you're looking at schools that you don't obligate yourself to a really expensive school that you cannot back out of. The cool thing I like about community colleges is you can just pay per unit and you don't have to pay for the whole thing in the beginning, especially for guys that are just kind of curious about HVAC. Community college is a good way to start because you can pay for just one class and say, hell no, this is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. And you're not out $17,000 or whatever those educations cost nowadays. Okay. So, but reach out to your local service company first and just let them know, hey, I'm interested in becoming an HVACR service tech. Let them know your history, and I'm sure they'll get you started on that, okay? And then, obviously, get started in a trade school. Check out my buddy Brian Orr's website, hvacrschool.com, okay? Again, Brian and I are different people, but Brian has an awesome website with lots of great information, podcasts, YouTube videos, write-ups, different stuff like that. He's got lots of great educational information for new people getting into the trade. Definitely check out Brian Orr's website, okay? Again, that's hvacrschool.com. All right, let me see what else we got in here. Jacob is working for a company. Ooh, this is a really good question. I remember this one. So Jacob is working for a company, and he reached out to me because they are not supporting him, meaning that he's really interested in learning more and doing things right, but he doesn't get support from the office. He oftentimes doesn't know what he's working on. He feels like he's being put out there in the field. and, you know, he feels like he's going to hurt something or hurt himself or something like that. So when it comes to that, guys, I know that there's companies out there like that, especially right now when we're so short staffed, and when we're so short staffed, everybody's just hiring and throwing people out there and just trying them out. I don't believe in that. It's a bummer that we have to do that, because I believe in a proper apprenticeship and working your way up and learning by working with someone. Okay. So, what you need to do, Jacob, is you need to think about yourself and your family. Okay. First off, if you're being put in situations working on things that you feel like you're unsafe, I'm going to tell you right now that you need to stop what you're doing, because you need to go home at the end of the night. Okay. If you feel like you're working on something that's unsafe, you need to do what's best for you, bud. Okay. Because guess what? If you get hurt and die, that company's still going to be there, but you're not. Okay. So don't ever let yourself be put in a situation where you don't feel safe. Okay. Now we got to preface that with the fact that don't be a sissy too. Okay. Because you're afraid to change a capacitor and you feel like you're going to get shocked to death. And don't get me wrong, you can get shocked, but you know, you can't be a sissy about it too. You have to have practical fears. I mean, they have to be real, but you need to feel comfortable. Okay. So remember, safety first, no matter what. Okay. Now, as far as not having support from the office, right? I mean, you got to think about yourself, man. I mean, I can't make that decision for you, but it sounds like you need to find someone that will teach you properly. But at the same time, you need to understand that if you want to be taught through an apprenticeship and work alongside someone, you're not going to be making the big bucks learning, right? I mean, the way that we need to look at it is we're lucky that we get to make money while we're learning, right? Joe, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. I really appreciate it, man. So, you know, you need to look out for your safety, but then also you need to know when it's time to move on and find a company that's willing to teach you. You may have to take a couple bucks an hour less, okay? So that way you can learn properly. And then it'll pay off in tenfold a couple years down the line, you know, because then you'll have a knowledge base built upon, and you won't be built upon hacky-ass crap. So I recently had someone reach out to me, and it was an acquaintance of mine, and he was asking me for help on an air conditioning system. He had watched one of my videos. He's an air conditioning technician, has been for a very long time, and he was watching one of my videos, and he was working on a very similar unit, and he ran into a very similar problem. And he called me and he goes, or messaged me, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm running into this problem. This system is not working correctly. My head pressure's way high. My suction pressure's too low." And I could just tell by talking to him on the phone that he didn't know what he was doing. Okay. And what he was telling me didn't make sense either. And I could tell I had a feeling I knew where this was going to lead. So where it led was he didn't pull a vacuum. He didn't weigh in the refrigerant. He was trying to charge by pressures instead of weighing in the charge. And he had no idea how to check superheat or subcooling. Okay. Guys, that is a foundation of crap. And he's been working for years building upon that foundation of crap, okay? You can't be a good air conditioning or refrigeration technician if your foundation is built on crap. You have to have a solid foundation. You have to understand basic refrigeration and air conditioning, and you can't be too lazy to implement basic air conditioning and refrigeration best practices. A proper evacuation. You need to strive to be the best technician you can be. Right? That's what I do. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes every day. But when I make a mistake, I have guilt inside of me. When I don't pull a perfect vacuum, I feel guilty. I go home like, damn, that sucks, man. I had to start that system up before the evacuation was perfect. But I'm also practical. And I know, especially being running a business, that we have to get this system going. The system has leaks in it. I can't fix every leak. The customer needs it running. Their product's going to get thrown away. There's an acceptable risk sometimes too. But I still have that guilt. I have a foundation that's solid, and I've built upon a solid foundation. Then I can choose to use what's been given to me or not to use it. But at least I know what's right and wrong, right? So if you don't feel comfortable, it sounds like you need to move on to something that's bigger and better, okay? But understand there may be some repercussions as far as pay and stuff like that. All right, I'm going to get to the chat and see what I'm missing here. Do I only service restaurants? No, I do some retail, I do some work for a stainless steel shop, but mainly it's restaurant refrigeration and air conditioning, yeah. And honestly, I get people reaching out to me all the time. Like, it's hard for me to accept new customers right now, too, because I can't even keep up with what I got going on, so... All right. Do I do any supplementary HVAC readings or content consuming? Mr. Noodles, I'm assuming you mean, do I try to better myself in my off time? I do. I feel guilty for not trying to better myself more. I definitely have been taking this last probably 6 to 8 months. I have not picked up any educational materials, and I probably need to. I can pretty much tell you, I have a feeling that they'll probably do some kind of a grandfathered thing or something like that, but my NATE certification is going to expire because I don't have the continuing education hours. So, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they like do something because of the whole pandemic and all that crap. But I definitely have been like kind of stuck on a rut and haven't been furthering myself or bettering myself. And I really need to get back into it. But yeah, I typically like to further myself. I'm part of some training organizations, RSES for one. Actually, just talking, if anybody's local to here to Southern California, we're not going to start meetings up again, in-person meetings, but we are going to start doing online meetings. So for our local Arrowhead chapter, we're actually going to do some combination meetings for multiple chapters, and we're going to webcast them basically, so you'll be able to check them out. And even for people that aren't RSCS members, I'll be definitely putting the information out there, promoting it on YouTube and stuff like that, so people can get free education. So let me see what else we got going on in here. Leave my resume open if needed, if interested, looking for refrigeration work. Oh, okay. All right, let me see what else we got in here. How do I prevent burnout? Ooh, good one. How do you prevent burnout from having to repair units that are past their lifespans? Had a unit with 2 bad compressors, had to fix economizer to get it by, won't replace unit, had many recently. Mike Fox. Man, sometimes you just have those customers, especially right now, especially in the commercial stuff. See, residential right now, residential sales are going through the roof. People are making, best year of their life. It's insane. These businesses are going crazy, the sales and everything. On the commercial side, not so much. Okay. Commercial side, everybody's skimping because it's corporations and different things like that. Right. Residential people, they're just basically putting themselves in debt in crazy amounts, right? And there's something interesting about that on the residential side. It's a very interesting thing that, the sales of equipment and everything are going through the roof, right? But without even looking at the numbers, I can absolutely guarantee you that those people are not spending money out of their checking accounts. They're just financing. It's interesting how much we are financing. And I'd be really interested to see what the financial numbers are as far as financing things has gone to through this whole pandemic and all this, this whole year. I'd be really interested to know how much debt by consumers has been, taken on. It's insane to think about how much money people are spending by financing things. That's scary. Not passing judgment, but that's just a scary, scary thing. That's not a good thing. That's like another bubble that's just filling up. That's scary. All right. But as far as how to prevent burnout, I don't know, man. On the commercial side, people don't want to repair or replace stuff. It's very difficult. So sometimes you're just stuck doing it. The only thing I could say is just make sure, that you're covering your butt, documenting everything for sure, letting people know up front, like, look, you got 2 bad compressors. I'm giving you a quote to change 2 bad compressors. Like, I can't stress enough to you that I need another 8 hours to diagnose after we replace these compressors. I need to come back 2 days later and check the system out and figure out why they failed. And then you better expect another quote for a big repair because something caused those compressors to fail. They don't just go bad. So I'm going to document everything and let them know up front, like, hey guys, you guys need to understand if I'm going to fix this, there's going to be more problems and this is not going to be a Band-Aid. Like, we got to do this. And I would tell them there's no warranty. The only thing I'm warranting is my workmanship. If my weld fails, I warranty that, right? But I'm not warranting a compressor that you're not willing to diagnose as to what made it fail. Heck no. I've even gone to customers when I'm replacing compressors in package units and said, there's no warranty on this unless you let me go through and figure out and fix what caused it to fail. I won't even honor manufacturer's warranties. I'll just tell them, no, it's not happening. You guys need to fix this stuff. That, or you just get to put a compressor in and have me change it again in 3 months, So as far as how to prevent burnout, I don't know, man. That's a hard one. That really is a hard one. So, all right. Michael and Son is offering monthly payments for your new equipment in your area. Young for Mafia, Michael and Son. I've heard about Michael and Son. I don't know what that is. Is that a financing thing, Young Mafia? Send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com, and let's talk a little bit more about it. I'm kind of curious. Union or non-union? Dallas, that is a great question. I have no opinion either way. What I'm going to tell people is the union is a great thing and non-union is a great thing. Here in Southern California, we do not have a strong union in the HVACR trade, okay? There is union, but it's not super strong. The most work you're going to get is going to be educational work. You're going to get government work, and that's about it, okay? Educational and government. Some giant hospitals and different things like that, you might get some work, but in the restaurant refrigeration and the residential, there's no place for union here. It just doesn't exist, right? But in other places, you know, union's strong. So whatever's best for you and your family is the way that I see it. I have nothing bad to say about the union. There's horrible union techs and there's horrible non-union techs. I mean, you know, people are people. So it's not the union's fault that someone's a horrible tech, you know, so excuse me. All right, let me see what else we got in here. Oh, Michael & Son is an HVAC company. I swear Michael & Son is like a an auction or something like that out here in California. Or maybe it's something else in Sons. I don't know. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted my life recently at work or otherwise? A purchase of $100 or less. Well, I'll tell you right now, for my family, a purchase of $100 or less has just been doing something outside, being active with my family. We recently purchased, when the pandemic first started, we purchased, the beanbag game, cornhole, right? We bought that and played with that in the backyard, and that was really cool because we all had fun being outside playing with that, right? As far as an HVAC purchase below $100, that has benefited me greatly. Right off the top of my head, I'd say some core removal tools, right? Either Appion or True Blue or True Blue. I can't think of the AccuTools. There you go, AccuTools core removal tools. Those are a really, really cool thing, and they really do speed up and make your life a lot easier to make your evacuations go a lot faster. So, all right, let me see what else we got in here. What is compressor burnout? Kevin, compressor burnout. Now, the person that asked me a question about burnout, I don't know if you were talking about compressor burnout or just burnout from being on the job, okay? But as far as compressor burnout is when the acids in the system, okay, acids develop potentially because of contaminants that are in the system being overheated because of poor circulation through the system, dirty condensers, that stuff like that, okay? High temperatures, things that are not supposed to be in the refrigeration system, they're getting overheated. You can start to get some acid buildup in your system, okay? When that happens, moisture, different things like that. When the acid buildup happens, what it does is the acid flows with the refrigerant, and it slowly eats away at the wax coating on the windings of the compressor, okay? Because there's an electrical motor inside your compressor that's open to the refrigerant. The refrigerant's all around the electrical motor running across the windings and everything, but it's protected by a wax coating. But when the acids start to flow around in the system, it starts to eat away at that wax coating till you get to a point where you have an electrical short because the wax coating on the winding has gone away and you get a short to ground, okay? So then essentially there's an electrical explosion, not like blow things up, but there's an electrical explosion inside the compressor, and the compressor fails because of an acid burnout, okay? There's ways to treat an acid burnout, but first and foremost, you got to change the compressor, okay? You got to figure out why the compressor failed. You have to put in some protective components such as Sporlan, HH core, liquid line filters, and suction dryers because they'll help to pick up the wax. They're made for an acid burnout. They help to clean up the system properly. And then you want to, before you put in the liquid line filter dryer, you want to try to clean all the old residual burnt crap out of there, which can be difficult and taxing. Pull a proper evacuation startup, come back out a couple weeks later, change the dryers again, maybe change them again, doing an acid test and checking to see if acid is still in the system a couple weeks later, and then go from there. So let me see what else we got in here. Have I worked on a walk-in that was skipping defrost? Yeah, I've had certain defrost clocks, especially some of the Graslin ones where the little pins actually go bad. Or also on the Paragon defrost clocks, the mechanical ones, where on the inside of it, it actually wasn't pushing the little chingus that throws it into defrost. So it would come around and then skip the defrost. So yes, I have had that happen. I'm very scared about that happening with all these new digital defrost clocks and smart defrost and all that stuff. That's a whole nother thing. But I've yet to have a smart defrost that skips a defrost per se, unless it skipped it because the temperatures in the system were too high, but that's a whole nother conversation. What are some bad recommendations that I hear in this industry? Bad recommendations are to buy a 4-port manifold and only use that for evacuations. That's a bad advice. Now, I'm not saying that I don't use my 4-port field piece S-Man 480, because I do. There's times that I use it for evacuations, but in trade school, you should not be taught to use a compound manifold or a digital manifold to pull evacuations, because that is not correct. You are not getting a solid foundation if in trade school or when you're coming up in the industry, they're teaching you that that is the proper way to pull an evacuation. The proper way to pull an evacuation, and nothing has changed. The proper way to pull an evacuation is to hook up with the least amount of hoses and the least amount of connections directly to your system without a manifold, and pull directly through hoses or copper lines or anything. And the reason why I say that this isn't something new is because in the, way back in the day, way before me, in the 60s and the 50s, they were talking about pulling evacuations with copper lines, doing flare connections and hooking that directly up to the system and pulling an evacuation, okay? So it's nothing new to use separate hoses for evacuations. It's just we've come up with new technology to where we don't need to use copper lines anymore. We can use really cool, awesome true blue hoses that will help us to achieve evacuation perfection. Another piece or myth that I should say is a triple evacuation. It's not a myth, but there was a time and place that we needed to use a triple evacuation. And my research has told me that essentially a triple evacuation was used because we didn't have the proper ability to pull proper evacuations. So what we would do is we'd pull an evacuation, purge the system with, before nitrogen, we were using refrigerant, purge it with like R22 or R12, then evacuate again, purge it again with refrigerant, evacuate it again, purge it again with refrigerant, and then do a final evacuation. And that was because the thought process was the refrigerants would absorb the moisture and you would vent it into the atmosphere. Then we replaced that with nitrogen. But people still to this day want to do triple evacuations when, in all honesty, a triple evacuation doesn't do too much, okay? When you have a proper evacuation rig and you have a proper micron gauge and you're pulling it properly through core tools, you can pull an evacuation and the triple evac just does nothing for you, okay? So, again, going off on a tangent. Do I happen to have an affiliate link? I saw a thing right there and I already lost it. Where did it go? Do I happen to have an affiliate link for the big blue hose through TrueTech Tools? Jason, yeah, definitely do. I can generate an affiliate link for anything at TrueTech Tools. So send me an email, Jason, and if I haven't, forgive me if you guys have sent me emails and I haven't gotten to them. Keep sending them. Send me an email, Jason, and I'll give you an affiliate link for the True Blue hoses for sure. All right, let me see. Let me see what else we got in here. You asked what Superheat was, and it seemed to be deleted. Rion, Superheat, it's not something I'm going to cover right now because the problem with me giving basic tutorials or basic explanations of things is oftentimes I'll say them incorrectly. So I try not to do that. So send me an email and we can talk through email and I'll give you a better understanding. Let me see what else. Delfield is telling us not to use gas mate. Okay, refrigeration kitchen EQ, great point. Okay, so he's saying Delfield is telling him not to use the gasmate leak detector, the combustible gas leak detector that I use, because there's like some tech bulletin. And I think I might have seen it before. Okay. So I still use the gasmate leak detector, right? And here's my logic with it. If I can't find a leak and I start to notice more and more that I can't find leaks, then yeah, I would figure that there's something wrong with my leak detector. Maybe it's time to change the sensor or something like that. But my gasmate leak detector has not failed me now, okay? I do not rely on the manufacturers to tell me what tools to use. They can give me recommendations, but I use my gasmate leak detector no problem. Now, if I can't find a leak and I've noticed more and more that the gasmate starts to not show me the leak, then of course I would look into figuring something out, new leak detector, whatever. But if you ever can't find a leak, and there has been times that I haven't been able to find a leak and or a system was completely flat, what I will do is put a little bit of 404A refrigerant in there, put a little bit of nitrogen, and leak test with a normal leak detector, okay? But if the system has propane in it and I'm looking for a leak, I'm certainly going to use my gas mate to try to find it first. And then if I can't, then I'll, try charging the system with a little bit of 404 and a crap ton of nitrogen and try to find it that way. So I do want to get to something on here. I'm going to cover things a little bit. No, actually, that's my next one. Oh, yeah, perfect. Jeremy had asked me a question about Delfield units, and this kind of ties into that, okay? And let me see. His question was where to put the field piece probes on Delfield units. Also, he's saying that tech support is not being very helpful in certain situations. So let's get to the bottom of this, okay? Technical support at a supply house, and I'm not saying that this is a vague statement, Jeremy. I'm not saying it's you that's a problem here, okay? But I'm just saying this in general. Technical support. I've thought about this in my head. Can you imagine being a technical support person for Delfield, Manitowoc, Hoshizaki, Carrier, or anything like that? Can you imagine the questions that they get on a daily basis? Can you imagine my refrigerator's not working? They get these questions. My refrigerator's not working. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Can you give me information? It's not making any noise. Okay. Is it plugged in? I think. I mean, that's the kind of crap that they get on a daily. Okay. So you got to give them credit, especially at the end of the day. You got to expect that they're going to be a little stressed out. Okay. So Delfield tech support has not failed me. They've been great for helping me, but I will say that when I call Delfield or any tech support, I usually have a notepad with everything written down on the notepad that I possibly think they're going to ask me, because there's nothing worse than waiting on hold for 3 hours or 2 hours, or because it's true. You start working on ice machines and you'll know what I'm talking about. So you wait on hold for 2 hours and then you say, yeah, I'm having some problems in the freeze. And they say, well, what are your refrigerant pressures? Oh, I don't have my gauges on it yet. And they say, okay, put your gauges on it, then call us back. And then you got to wait on hold again. Okay. So I learned you write everything down. I'm going to write temperatures, times, measurements, anything you could possibly think. Okay. And then when I talk to them, I'm going to say, look, this is what I did. Okay. And they appreciate this. I've been told by many people when I go to them and I say, look, I've been monitoring the system for a while. I have all this information right here. This is what I did. This is what I checked. And then they say, oh, wow, that's really interesting. You know what? It sounds like you might have a problem with your, whatever. And then they give me suggestions. But I'm not asking technical support to tell me what's wrong. I'm having a conversation with them and saying, hey, guess what? This is what I'm seeing. What do you think about this? And they say, no, because if that was a problem, and we have a back and forth conversation and we're like-minded, right? There's nothing worse. And you also have to understand when these tech support people, they're getting all those guys that are being thrown out into the field, right? They're being thrown out into vans and they don't have proper support. And then they call their bosses and their boss says, just call tech support, man. That's what they're there for. And then they call tech support and they say, I don't know what I'm doing. My boss told me to call you, So got to give those guys props, right? Because they go through some stress. I couldn't do a tech support job because I'd go crazy. People ask me on YouTube. They send me emails and they're like, hey, can you help me troubleshoot this? And I could tell from the email that they don't know what they're doing. And it's like, no, I don't want to help. I don't want to help. That's ridiculous, okay? If someone emails me with all the information, look, this is what I've been checking. This is what I saw. This is what's going on. And they give me a thought like, do you think that there could be a problem with this? And then I say, you know what? No, I don't think so. But I have all the information there. So I know that they really want help. They don't want me to do their job for them, okay? So now that I went on a tech support tangent, right? I'm going to answer your question about where to put the probes on the field piece units. I mean, on the Delfield units. So in his situation, Jeremy was working on a Delfield pan chiller, and he's very curious about how to check for proper operation. So I'll tell you on 404A units for Delfield, okay, they are static cold rails, and Delfield does not publish refrigerant pressures for the static or for the cold rails. So what they actually tell you to do is isolate the cold rail from the system, turn it off, let the system run with just the base section, look for about 25 degrees condensing temp over ambient, and then they usually have a general suction pressure as to what the system should be, okay? Then once you've done that and you verified that the refrigerant pressures are correct with just the bottom section running, then they want you to turn the top section on, look for an even frost pattern around the top after it's been running for a while, And then once it gets close to being down to temperature, they want you to test the superheat of the expansion valve, typically 6 to 8 degrees on the top expansion valve on the cold rail. If you want to know where to put the suction line temperature clamp for the cold rail, you want to put it as close as possible to the TXV sensing bulb for the cold rail for the top, okay? Same thing for the base section. Now, typically, you don't need to check superheat for the expansion valve for the base section on a Delfield because there's really no way to do it. There's no room inside there, okay? You can't check superheat by the compressor because on the Delfield units, and this happens on a lot of prep table units, they actually run the suction and the liquid line together. So how are you going to get an accurate superheat if you've got subcooling? You know, the suction line's absorbing the heat from the liquid line, okay? It's essentially a heat exchanger, right? They're bringing the efficiency of the box up by, and that happens a lot on reach-in coolers and stuff. And that's why, you know, when people say, you know, oh, you didn't check your superheat or your subcooling, those numbers really don't mean a lot on reach-in coolers because they got some weird crap going on. They're running discharge lines through condensate heaters, you know, and it's full of water and that's throwing everything off. And, you know, so, but for testing an expansion valve on a cold rail, yeah, you do want to check for about 6 to 8 degrees evaporator superheat on a Delfield unit. Understanding the sequence of operation is the most important thing. That's the biggest thing, okay? And another tip I'm going to give all you guys, if you're working on reach-in coolers, ice machines, or anything, if you ever call technical support, don't ever throw the information they give you away. Save it, write it down, take pictures of it, put it in a file, so that way next time you don't have to call tech support to get the operating pressures for a 404A unit for a Delfield cooler, because you got them written down. So write it down, don't waste tech support's time, you know, once you've called them once or twice before. Now, when you start working on R290 units or something new, yeah, of course, you need to call them and, you know, kind of pick their brain. But even, you know, working on those, I still try to have everything ready for when I call them. So that way I pretty much, for the most part, have a diagnosis, but I just want a confirmation. Or maybe it's under warranty, and because it's under warranty, I want them to assist me in the diagnosis. So, nose is going crazy right now. Hopefully I answered your question. What are the main causes of oil spreading through the system? I saw that and then the thing disappeared. That would be washing the oil out of the compressor, oil migration, or I shouldn't say oil migration because that's not really going to happen. But what you're going to have happen is refrigerant migration into the compressor, and then the compressor is going to start. You're going to slug the compressor, and or you're going to have really low superheat, and especially on reciprocating compressors, the refrigerant's going to wash the oil out of the compressor and put it to other parts of the system, okay? So oil is going to naturally flow in your system as it runs already, so you need to have proper oil return, P-traps, different things like that to make sure it's refrigeration lines need to be sized properly. Yes, guys, you can't just put any refrigerant line in something, okay? Oil return, refrigerant velocity, they mean a lot, okay? So I kind of just did a vague answer there. Hopefully that answers. How am I approaching retrofitting? If you're talking about refrigerant retrofitting, honestly, I'm not approaching it at all. Still using R22 to this day. I'm not really planning on retrofitting much. I just kind of give the customer the options. I've given most of my customers options on refrigerant retrofitting, and most of them don't want to do it because they don't want to lose efficiency, and R22 is still just as cheap today. So, all right, let me see. It is time. Got a few questions on my recent R290 video about the little box that I use to charge my R290. So I've got this little box that holds the can upside down and it has a chingus on it that holds it in place. That is made by iCore Refrigerants. iCore Refrigerant is a refrigerant manufacturer. They had a kit at my local supply house, and it was an R290 kit. It came with 2 cans of R290. It came with a case, the little valve for piercing the cans, and then it came with like a little box thingy that holds it. And it's really kind of cool. So they have a little piece of, it's not cardboard, but it's like a plastic material, but it looks like cardboard, and it has a piece of Velcro on the back. And then there's the female side of the Velcro on the case that holds it. So that way you put the Velcro in there and it holds the can upright. It's pretty ingenious when you think about it. So, but yeah, iCore Refrigerants. What happens when you can't get R22? Leave that up to the customer. I'll let them know. Hey, you know what? Can't get R22, so we have some options. Do you want to try using a retrofit refrigerant, or do you want to go ahead and replace the system? We leave that up to them and let them make those decisions. I'm not a fan of using alternative refrigerants if I don't have to. They just lead to headaches. None of them work correctly. You have to do all kinds of weird things in the system to make them work correctly. And for the most part, if I can still use R22, even if it costs a couple extra bucks, the amount of headaches you have to go through in retrofitting things can just be a nightmare. So I personally choose not to retrofit. Not saying anything against anybody else. So, yeah, I need a third arm to rub my nose for sure. Big Nate, for sure. All right, let me see what else. Thinking about getting the D-Tech Stratus. John Deere fan. I had an opportunity to use the D-Tech Stratus. It's a very interesting looking leak detector. It was really cool. So I will say D-Tech also, or Infocon also came out with a new leak detector that is basically, it's the Stratus, but it doesn't have the display. It still has the same sensor, still works just as good. So depending on what you need, I will say something. In using the Stratus, something really important, the Infocon D-Tech Stratus, whatever you want to call it, it has a display with a parts per million readout, okay? What I learned is that the parts per million readout on the display is actually a less sensitive way of checking for refrigerant leaks. If you use the normal sensor in the leak detector that doesn't show the parts per million, it's actually highly or more sensitive, basically. So essentially, if you really, really need the cloud hunting, the whole point of the parts per million is for when you're walking into a box that's completely saturated with refrigerant, like a giant walk-in cooler or a rack room that has just pissing out gas, but you just can't hear it because the equipment's so loud. You can use the cloud hunting or the PPM, and you can look on there and say, okay, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer. But in all honesty, do you really want to be walking into a room that's pissing out that much refrigerant? So what I'm saying is you don't necessarily need to buy the Stratus. You can actually buy the cheaper version that essentially is just like the D-Tech Select. It just doesn't have a digital display. It's just as sensitive. It has the same sensor, in fact, as the Stratus. So food for thought, save yourself a couple bucks, unless you just really need that digital display. But if you're going to think and you're going to use the parts per million readout, that leak detector is not as sensitive, or that function is not as sensitive, I guess I should say. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Let me see. What am I missing here? Setting head pressure controls. How low can you go with your liquid temp? Quinn, you need to be very careful about your liquid temp, depending on your expansion valve and how well it can work at whatever pressure differential it's going to have. So if you drop your liquid line temperature down, you're not going to have as much velocity pushing the refrigerant through the system, okay, because your pressure is going to drop. Can your valve still operate properly? If you're using a thermostatically controlled expansion valve. Now, I'm not a genius with expansion valves, right? I'm pulling this out of my ass right now, but I'm just using common sense logic. If you're using a thermostatically controlled expansion valve, the refrigerant has to flow at a certain rate, okay? In order for the bulb to open and close properly and maintain a set superheat. If the refrigerant's not flowing at the correct rate, you're going to run into pressure differential. That's when the pressure differential really becomes an issue. You're going to run into problems, okay? So you need a certain amount of refrigerant on one side of that valve, pushing that refrigerant through the valve for it to make it through the evaporator coil to absorb the correct amount of heat out of the evaporator coil. If you don't have that refrigerant being pushed through there properly, then that leads to problems. So how low can the liquid line saturation temperature go? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that answer. That would be an email for Spoilin. You can quickly reach out to them. But I mean, it really depends on your system too. You know, your system is designed by an engineer to operate at a certain pressure differential on that expansion valve, a certain pressure on one side to the other, to maintain the proper system efficiency. So I do know that there's a term called floating head pressure, and they're floating it down. They're bringing the head pressure or the liquid line or liquid temperature way lower to try to maintain or achieve higher efficiencies. So for instance, in a Heatcraft condensing unit, I install a lot of those Heatcraft condensing units. What I started to notice is the liquid line head pressure control valves, right, or the headmasters, the LAC valves, they're starting to put a standard 150 PSI bypass pressure on them. So that means that the head pressure control valve is not going to bypass till 150 PSI. That goes on 404 systems and then even on R22, which on R22, I would expect them to actually put a smaller head pressure control or a lower bypass pressure. But anyways, that's a whole nother thing. But I mean, they're doing it for energy efficiency, right? If you change the compression ratios, you can be more efficient. That's where we start to get into all the engineer talk, and I'm not smart enough to talk about that crap. All right. What else we got in here? Will the detect 513A? I have no idea, but Dion, I do not know. I don't even know what 513A is. So, Blue One is not almost the same cost as R22. Blue One's a lot more expensive than R22. But yeah, I mean, I guess it could be the same cost, whatever. But the amount of stuff that has to go into doing a conversion, you don't just put an alternative refrigerant in a system and call it a day. So you got to convert it properly. All right. I'm going to get to my list of things to talk about. I get this question all the time. I'm going to cover it really quick. What watch do I wear? I wear this watch in my videos all the time. It is a smartwatch. This is a Samsung Galaxy Active 2 watch. I have beat the crap out of this watch. It's all scratched up. You guys can't see it, but the glass is all scratched up. It's not cracked. I try to take it off whenever I'm sticking my hands in stuff. It is a good smartwatch. I use Samsung products, so it does really well. Honestly, though, you know, just a standard G-Shock watch would have been fine. For the cost that I spent on this, to be honest with you, it was probably a waste of money, okay? Because I use it as a glorified watch. I mean, that's all I do is tell time with it. I will say one cool function of this is when you're working and you're having a busy day, you can set it up to where your notifications come across here. So I can feel my phone vibrate, but just to pull my phone out and check the email is a pain in the butt. So I have it set up to where the email flashes on here. So if I feel my phone vibrate, I can just look at my watch real quick and say, oh yeah, that's not important, move on. So that is a cool feature. But, you know, I don't know, you know, I'm not pushing everybody to go buy these watches because it's rather expensive for our trade, to be honest with you. So who is standing behind me? That is a scary person standing behind me. I don't know. Scary, scary person. All right. Let me see what else we got in here. Let me see. All right. So there's that. Do me a favor, guys. Smash the like button. It will really, really help out the stream. We've got 255 likes and 422 viewers. Please get that number up above 400. Start smashing the like button. If you guys are watching on mobile, all you got to do is hit the back button, back out of the chat, hit the thumbs up button, come right back into the chat. Please. It really does help out the stream. Okay. Safety. This is a great question. I get so many safety questions from people. People asking me, how come I don't see you do this? Or how come you didn't do this? Or I didn't like your video because you didn't do this first. Okay. You have to understand. First off, I am not perfect. Okay. I am learning every day. There's not one person out there that does everything correct. There's a new rule every single 2 seconds that we're not following. I try to be as safe as possible. There's stuff that I don't know. I'm ignorant when it comes to certain safety things. I've learned safety stuff from the comments of these videos, guys. It's really interesting, okay? So it's very interesting that we have all these safety rules, right? And there's no easy way to learn them. You know, we have YouTube videos, you know, from HVAC techs, right? We can read books, we can go to trade school, but there's not, you know, it's not drilled down your throat in trade school about proper safety practices or about all the new rules that happen and different things like that. It's not drilled down everyone's throats, okay? I'm not perfect, but you also have to understand that a lot goes on behind the scenes, okay? I don't show my entire process. There's a reason why I don't show my entire process, because I don't do DIY videos, okay? I realize that some people that are not HVAC technicians do watch my videos, but these are not meant to be DIY videos, so I'm not showing everything, okay? So sometimes things happen. Maybe it's not worthy of showing on the camera, or I work in restaurants. I can't necessarily take a video camera down into the restaurant when I'm working, okay? So to go shut off certain breakers and lock them out and do different things like that, I don't necessarily show because I can't all the time, okay? So I do follow as many safety practices as possible, but there's also stuff that I don't do. I'm practical. Most of the people out there don't. Of course, we need to strive to be better, but, you know. All right. What else we got in here? How do I feel about techs using their trucks for side hustles? Quinn. So I am not a fan of side work, okay? But what a service technician does on their own time is their own business, so long as they're not using my vehicle or my tools or my likeness. What I mean by my likeness, they better not be working for any of my customers, okay? I don't allow my technicians to work for any of my customers, even on the side. So let's say one of my restaurant managers has an air conditioner not working and he asks one of my techs to do it. We don't do that. They can call someone else. Because if they're using my likeness, and that's using my likeness, if they're using my likeness, then when something goes wrong, that manager looks to me to resolve the problem. If my tech burns down their building and my tech didn't have insurance, or their house, then they're like, hey, your tech burnt down my house. Yeah, that's exactly why we don't do that. Okay. Now, what a service technician does on their own time, that's not my business. Okay. So long as it doesn't affect me. Right. But the moment that they're using my likeness or they're working for my customers or trying to take business from me, that's when we part ways. Simple as that. It's very important for technicians and everybody out there to understand. As a business owner, I pay a great deal of money for insurance. That insurance costs me money every single month, and that's operating costs of my business. Yes, it's really easy to say, wow, he charges way too much money and I can do it for cheaper. But are you thinking about all the details? See, because I'm paying all my employees proper wages, I'm paying taxes, all that stuff. I'm paying insurance rates and all that. So it's really easy for someone to think, wow, I could do that on the side and make a lot more money. But what happens if you get hurt? You're not going on my workers' comp if you get hurt on your personal crap. It ain't happening. I'll prove that to the death. So, you got to be very careful doing side work because that can get you into big trouble. I've done side work. I've done it before. I've helped out family members and different things like that. I'm not saying that you're a horrible person for doing it, but just know the repercussions. If something happens and you get hurt while you're doing side work, you got you got nothing to fall back on. You can go on disability, but you don't have a business to fall back on their workers' comp or anything like that. So, all right, let me see what else. How frustrating is having Blue On trying to self-promote without permission? Were they in here again trying to self-promote? I didn't even catch that one. Blue On's already been kicked out of here. If they were in here again, let me know. Whoever saw their screen name or one of the mods, send me the screen name and I'll go through the chat and I'll contact them and tell them again. So, because I already have bad blood with them, so I'll make it said again. Where I haven't even seen Blue On in here. Who is Blue On? Because Blue On, you guys are not welcome to self-promote in this. I've already made this said with someone else, one of your marketing people. You don't get to come in here and promote in my chat period. Okay. If you want to have a business conversation, send me an email and I'll delete it. So, all right. Because it is not just about the money with this crap. I hold a grudge, and this, if that's the case, if Blue On was self-promoting in here, you guys can throw as much money at the deal as you want. I'll just keep deleting your emails so you guys can pound sand. I got nothing bad to say about your product, but your marketing crap is pissing me off. So, yeah, I would be glad to know if any one of my mods can tell me what the screen name was for Blue On. I'd really, really appreciate it. Let me see. That is a good one, Rich. So if someone didn't see Rich, it says there is nothing more enjoyable than hearing a child running and laughing in your home, except when it's 3 a.m. and you live alone. That is creepy. That is awesome. All right. What else we got going on in here? Let me see. All right, cool. Well, throw some more questions in there. Oh, no, I did have another one. So Ash had asked me a question, and this is a really good one. So he works on, and now I have to preface this, Ash, by saying I don't work on big, giant supermarket stuff, okay? But he works on big, giant built-up air conditioners. Built-up air conditioners have receivers, have head pressure control valves. They have standard, they're like working on a standard refrigeration system, except for they're going to have some capacity control things and different stuff like that. So he asked a question about charging air conditioning systems, built-up systems, how to properly charge them using superheat and subcooling. Okay, first off, I have to tell you is you need to understand the sequence of operation on these systems, okay? You need to understand how these systems work, okay? If you're working on a fancy air conditioning system, the fundamentals apply to it, but if they have capacity controls, if they have unloaders, which is a capacity control, if they have special heat exchangers and different stuff like that, you have to know how the system operates. So if you don't know the sequence of operation of these air conditioning systems, you need to step back and read the manual before you start diving in, okay? But he's asking how to charge. You're not going to charge one of these air conditioning systems. It's a built-up system with a receiver. You're not going to charge it using superheat and subcooling, okay? You're going to look for a solid column of liquid going to your expansion valve, but if it has low ambient controls, you have to know how to add the extra refrigerant for the low ambient controls. So you're going to treat it as a refrigeration system, okay? Adding refrigerant until you have a clear sight glass, understanding how the system works. Now, people freak out when they hear me say adding refrigerant until you have a clear sight glass. I'm assuming I'm talking to refrigeration and air conditioning technicians that know when they're adding too much refrigerant to the system. I'm going to tell you guys a story. So way back in my, probably about 12, 13 years ago, I was working at a hospital. Okay. This is a great learning experience. I was working on a shell and tube condenser. It was a water cooled system. So I was in the basement of the hospital. We had walk-in coolers and we had giant shell and tube. The cool things about shell and tube condensers is you can pull the end bells off of them and you can punch the tubes with brushes and actually clean them out when they get fouled. That's really important. Okay. Because coaxial sucks. Unless you have proper water treatment. But again, I'm going off on a tangent. So I replaced a shell and tube condenser because it was leaking refrigerant. Okay. It was leaking on the outside. It was it wasn't leaking into the water chamber. Now I replaced the condenser and I shouldn't say that. Step back. I lied. I replaced a coaxial condenser and I installed a shell and tube condenser. Okay. Long story short, after trying to charge the system and putting like 40 pounds of refrigerant in it, and I could not clear my sight glass. I just kept adding refrigerant and adding refrigerant and adding refrigerant, okay? Could not clear the sight glass. The box temp was coming down in temp, but I could not clear the sight glass, and it was driving me nuts. Something was wrong. This was a custom shell and tube condenser, and it did not have mounting brackets, and I had it mounted 90 degrees in the wrong direction. So we did not have liquid refrigerant coming into the bottom, working its way, coming out the top. I had it turned the wrong way. So the refrigerant process, the process inside there was not happening properly. And I just kept adding refrigerant. So that's why I assume I'm talking to refrigeration technicians that know when you're adding too much refrigerant. Okay. I went ahead and turned the condenser the correct way, and it was able to be charged up properly and everything was good. Okay. So keep that in mind. You have to understand how the systems operate. If you don't know how these systems operate, you need to step back and read the manual. So in my case, I was still a new technician. I didn't quite understand what was going on. It was a big mistake, but I figured it out. Got the condenser turned the right direction to where the flow of refrigerant was happening properly with the water, and all was well after that. So, all right, let's see what else. Let me see what else. Missing inside here. What is the channel email? hvacrvideos@gmail.com. All right. Let me see what else. At least Blue on trying so hard to promote on my channel means my channel is one of the most... Yeah. All right, guys. I am pretty much ready to wrap this up. I got nothing else to talk about. I really, really appreciate you guys coming in here. I'll give you an opportunity to throw a few more questions in here real quick. Thank you guys so very much for all the people that have given super chats, channel support. You guys are awesome. I really, really appreciate it. And let me see what else we got in here. I don't know what's going on either, Justin. I'm confused. So just a newbie here. Wanted to know if I've ever used a portable induction pipe welder. No, I have not. I've heard a lot of people talk about induction welders. I've never used one before. So what are some things I love to see my apprentices doing? Quinn, great thing I want to see an apprentice do. An apprentice, or whatever you want to call yourself, a new technician, your job is to learn like a sponge, okay? But your job is also sometimes to go get me stuff, okay? You can be a gopher too. Now, there is value in everything. You need to find the value in what you're doing. Even if you're scooping shit out of a horse corral, find value in that, okay? You're learning about hard work, you're doing whatever. If you're an apprentice and you're working with me and I ask you to go down to get something out of my van and you can't find it and you come back up and you say, hey, you know what? I can't find that. And I say, dude, open up the sliding door, look straight ahead. It's on the second shelf. It's right there, okay? He can learn value in anything. Right there, he just learned that I keep everything in a certain spot in my van, so that way when I have to send someone to my van, I know where it is. So therefore, I expect him and I want him to learn from that when he takes something and puts it back in my van, I want it to be put back in that exact spot. So that way when I go to look for it or I send someone to look for it, it's where it belongs, okay? At the same time, there's so much value in this. I send someone down to my van. We're doing an evacuation. Get all my recovery stuff, get all my evacuation stuff, and he comes back up and he doesn't bring a vacuum pump, okay? I'll give him a chance. Hey, bud, you need to bring all this stuff up when you go and do that, okay? Then he really starts to learn. If I have to go down there and I grab something, he sees, okay? But he learns and he starts to realize what I use on jobs, right? So He should be paying attention. He should be seeing my process when I'm changing a compressor. And an apprentice or a new technician is going to get to a point where they're going to start to come up in a level and they're going to start to think before I need something. And that's when they become really valuable. When I'm changing a compressor and we're just getting done brazing the compressor in, and all of a sudden the apprentice says, "I'm going to go down to the van and get your recovery or your vacuum pump and your vacuum hoses." And I say, "Awesome. I didn't even have to ask you for it." He's becoming a better apprentice. So I want an apprentice to be a sponge. I want them to learn, but I also want them to get good at understanding why it's important to be organized and have things in a certain place. So that way, when you need them, you know where to get them. Job site efficiency. That's a really important thing. And workplace efficiency. Hey, every time he goes down to the van to get something, he needs to take something, because guess what? At the end of the day, there's nothing worse than having to spend 2 hours taking crap to your van. When he's gone down there 20 times throughout the day, he should have taken something that I was done with and put it down in the van. So he's learning how to be efficient as a tech. So that way, when it comes time for me to start letting him do stuff on his own, he's got that efficiency built into his brain, and he's not a slob, and he's thinking smart, and he likes to look at the entire big picture, right? And try to fix everything. So that's what I want an apprentice to do. I want an apprentice to learn how to be a sponge and learn how to be useful and learn how to think for me and know what I need before I need it, because that's going to teach him how to be a better service technician too. All right. For the new guys, go to Home Depot and walk in the tool aisle and learn the tool names. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I am out of large hats at the moment, but for those that are just coming in, I have new beanies coming up. I said this in the very beginning of the stream. These are not available on the website yet, but they will be available. We have a non-cuffed and we have a cuffed. These have the very similar logo as my hat, but this time it has the snowflake logo right here. Okay. The cuffed one, actually, I'm not a cuffed beanie fan, but it actually fits really well and I actually like it. It's a bigger beanie. You can see it's still kind of tall in the back. Okay. So that's the cuffed one. It'll be available soon. I'm expecting these in about a week, and then new hats in a couple weeks, new shirts in a couple weeks. This is the non-cuffed version. So I'm more of a non-cuffed beanie. I have a big head, so they fit my head rather well. Also, I said this in the beginning, I have a new shirt design. That's going to be coming out. I just ordered these today, so these will be here in a couple weeks. There's going to be a women's version of it too, in a V-neck. My favorite part about the shirt, guys, and I said this in the beginning too, is the American flag. I dig that flag. I was super stoked to be able to put that on there. The back of the shirt has a totally new design too. Really dig that. So it'll be available men's and women's. Now, the new shirt design, when it does come out, is only going to be in black. We're not doing multicolor on the new shirt design. I am doing a restock of my original design with the multicolor. So those will be in too. So also we're going to have new zip-up hoodies too. Zip-up hoodies are going to be coming. Guys, when I do merch and different things like that, I'm kind of weird when it comes to that stuff. So I really like to order samples, wear them for a couple days, wash them, see how they dry. For instance, the hoodies, the zip-up hoodies. I ordered a hoodie. I don't have it with me right now. Had to make a design on it. It was a real simple hoodie, and I washed it, wore it for a few days, and then the zipper got stuck. And I called the guy back and I said, I need a different sweater. I'm not going to do this. I don't want one that potentially people are going to have zippers getting stuck. So I'm not just going to order crap and throw it out there. I like to try it out and wear it for a while. But to answer your question, I am out of the large hats right now, but they will be back in stock soon. Yeah. All right. Learn. All right. Let me see what else. You must have that beanie. It'll be out soon. I'm starting to question whether or not I need to order beanies. Do me a favor. If you guys are interested in beanies, I need to know what kind of interest there is, because I only ordered a certain amount. So, send me an email if you guys are interested in ordering beanies. That's not how you're going to order them. I just need to know what kind of interest we have, because I'm kind of wondering if I need to order more. I don't want to order too many beanies because they're only going to be available, but send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and let me know if you guys are interested in any of the stuff that I have, the zip-up hoodies, the new shirt design, or the beanies. It just kind of gives me an idea what people are going to want to order when it does become available. Now, we're not doing this through email. It's going to be through my website, hvacrvideos.com. Right now, there's small, medium hats and plenty of shirts of the old style, but I have ran out of some sizes, but you can check it out now if you want. But all right. Yeah, UK shipping is not happening yet, but I will get on that. I know I keep saying I'm going to do that. I need to get on the United Kingdom and Australia. I get a lot of people. Am I coming out with an HVACR video game? No. No, I'm not doing that. Thanks for the lady shirt. Yeah, Jessica, my wife really wanted to do that. My wife was so stoked when she put on the lady shirt because it fits so much better. She used to wear the small and she's like, or the medium, and she's like, it just doesn't fit right. And this one actually fits her well. It's the V-neck. It's smaller. So she really digs the lady version. And I knew there was a few female techs that watch this stuff. Yeah, I know, Joe. You were actually the person that really convinced me to go with the cuff style because I was going to do non-cuffed at all. So... oh, and, you know, I'll give you guys an example. So, I had an idea in my head with the beanies, and I reached out because I wanted one of my favorite beanies. Let me see if I have it right here. Yeah, one of my favorite beanies that I like to wear is this. This is not the beanie I'm going to be selling. This is a Carhartt beanie, right? This is my personal one. I like to wear this. So I reached out and I said, hey, I want to get a sample made of a certain style beanie. And so we came up with this. This was the idea, but I didn't like it. And the reason why I didn't like it was I didn't like the quality. The stitching's kind of coming out the back. This one was just basic. So I said, you know what? No, we're not going to go with that. And then I had another idea. So I go through this. I go through all these samples. I said, you know what? I have another beanie that I liked, personal one. This one says Columbia, and I love this. And this one isn't embroidered. It's like in the stitching is the lettering. So I reached out and I said, hey, make me a sample beanie that says HVACR. And we saw a logo, but when I got the sample, no. I was like, this is not going to happen. This is what it turned out to be. I said, no. So this is what I go through. I order samples, and I spent a crap ton of money on these samples, by the way. That's another thing, too. The whole idea of samples. See, you think in your head samples are free? No. Samples are ridiculously expensive. But anyways, here's another one. And I was like, no, look at how like deformed it gets when you stretch it out. And I was like, hell no, that's not going to be it. So that's why I go through this and why it takes me so long to get something is because I go through and I'm a thinker. I try to think of everything and I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. I don't like this. The zipper gets stuck. The beanie looks like crap, all that stuff. So, Bill, that's a funny comment, Bill. Oh man, that made me laugh, dude. Pull over with a large front pocket. Yeah, my daughter, Peter, she wanted me to do, because she's all, that's what a hoodie is. A hoodie is a pullover with a pocket. And I was all, no, that's a sweatshirt. That's the whole thing. No, I did a zip-up hoodie. In fact, I'll go grab it. Hold on just a sec. Now that you guys got all that dead air and everybody left, go to town. So even the hoodie design, I decided to go different. So the back of the hoodie is really simple. It just says HVACR videos, super simple. It's light blue. And then the front has just my snowflake logo on it. It's super simple. But I decided I didn't like that. And I changed it because I wanted it to reflect the new design. So it's going to have the white outline basically around the snowflake logo. So it's still going to have the same design on the back, but it's going to have that white outline. And this one, you can see, has a silver zipper. And I didn't like the silver zipper because the color, but also this zipper kept getting stuck. So the new one's going to have a black zipper, and it's super smooth. Awesome. So those will be out soon. All right, let's see if I'm missing anything else in here. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. Can I get gauges in Home Depot? No, you can't. Can I make an HVACR videos ugly sweaters? No, I don't have enough time to do that, Adam. Took me long enough to do these ones. Can we get a woolly hat with one of Ike's mugshots? No. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I really, really appreciate you guys. I am going to, yeah, I guess let's make sure you guys make it to the HVAC Overtime show this Friday. We actually have a special guest this Friday. We're going to have Big Clive on Friday evening, 6:05 p.m. We're going to be talking about air cleaners, actually. I've been installing a lot of the bipolar ionizer air cleaners, and so we're going to talk to Clive about those. And I'm going to try, because I have a bunch, I'm going to take one of them apart and try to do some experiments on it, because I want to learn some more about how these voodoo magic things work. So definitely come to the HVAC Overtime show on Friday. Can someone throw an overtime link in here right now, please, in the chat? That would be great. That would be awesome. But yeah, let's go ahead and close this one out. I really, really appreciate you guys. HVAC Archonies, yeah, for sure. Someone show in the overtime thing in here if you can. One of the mods. Yeah, I'll throw it into the chat. Yeah, Big Clive is a smart dude, man. That dude, it's just like I was listening to him talk on his live stream on Saturday, and it's like, how the hell, even when he's drunk, it's like, how the hell does he even know how to talk about this crap? Like, it's crazy what he just spits out of his mouth, even when he's drunk. So, Dr. Zarklov. Yeah, Dr. Zarklov, I haven't heard from him in a very long time. No metal zippers, short circuits. Yeah, well, my stuff isn't made for work. My merch is not workwear, per se. So... long t-shirts, yeah, that'd be nice on long sleeves. I have to be careful because if I told you guys how much money my merch order was, you guys, it's insane. Let's just, it's more than I've ever spent. It's insane. So I have to be careful because it has to sell. So that's why I can't order certain things. Like, I know I'd love to have a long sleeve shirt, but a lot of people aren't going to order them. So it's just like hard, you know, so it's hard to put all that money out front. I buy all the stuff up front, package it myself, and ship it out. So there you go. Overtime. Perfect. Thank you guys so very much. Definitely sub to the overtime thing. So, all right. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so very much. I'm going to cue up the outro music and get my, live stream Chingus to pop up. Intro picture there. Turn that off. What the heck happened to there? Why is that? Oh, there you go, right there. Intro picture. Cue up the outro music.